Hi everyone, this is Anna, and I'm going to awkwardly describe how I have always displayed characteristics or the description of a number 3. As we know in social types, they are the specializers, the kind of master of one, and I think that's always been a very big part of my identity, is that I love my job, but not in the way that I think people associate with loving your job. But it became very easy for me to find that, and what Shang said in her video about, you'd better pick the right, love what you do for your career if you're a 3, because, you're investing your entire like rabbit hole and life into this one thing. So I fell into a very fortunate situation where I recognized my skills fairly early on and used them in the best way that I could to obviously make money, but then learned that that's just something I want to do on my off time. And being a very weird EJ that does not interact with people like in a very play last way, this is something that I was happy to give up in terms of friends, in order to commit my time digging further into the thing I've already invested my time in. And this will like phase in, phase out with some hobbies as well, but usually it's like I have one other hobby other than my work at a time, and I will give it everything until, I get bored of it or I feel I've finished it. That does happen. And so that's kind of the trends throughout my life, that it's always been very narrow and defined. So yes, I'm a visual designer, very fitting for FM, very fitting for double activated SF. All of these line up for me to be a visual designer. I live in Silicon Valley, so all of like my life circumstances really lended to my career and the things that I want to be doing in my spare time. So the way I've described it to others is like, yes, right now with the chaos of having a young kid at home, my place to relax is still to do my work. Not because I want to be number 1, not because I feel responsible, but because that's what I actually just want to be doing right now, is honing in the craft and continue to expand on the one thing. So building the product, refining the color palettes, organizing the icons. Who's gonna do it? You got to get a specializer on your team, a number 3 on your team for the SI, and I think that's where it also feeds into that like SI desire to organize. I feel very useful when I'm organizing a system that everyone else is going to be coming back to and using themselves. In this case, a color palette that everybody's using in my company. In the very personal at-home case, it's organizing somebody, my husband's drawer, because I know that it is accessible and he can find everything. For me, for him, for my daughter, like all of these things are really important to me. So it just, the number 3 layer, social type layer, really adds on to the already like IJ blast OI kind of very visible side of me. So, the minute I heard the word specialize, I was like, that's the one. I bet you that's the one. it didn't take long for me to be like, all right, this is it. On top of that all, seeing that savior as a social type savior is just as easy as it was seeing my social type demon, which is this responsibility. And I can name countless examples of absolutely just feeling the ick about how can I not do this? Sure, it's, having sleep, high sleep is one of those things. Having low play, how can I not talk to you? How can I not do something? How can I excuse myself from the situation? But now knowing that I'm not even accounting for, like, how do I not do this? Not that it doesn't occur to me that I could do it. I just immediately disregard it as something that's not my lane, which is fine. And I've never been like ashamed by that. I occasionally feel pressured to do that because of DE, because single activated TE at the top is like, but the people need it. The people want you to, take responsibility. So the prime example is in career, where this all plays out, right? Like social types play out really vividly. Is I did not leave my job for a long time that I was with, my previous company of 8 years. And towards the last 3 years, I felt like I was at 20% capacity. I did not have a lot to do. And for a while I was like, why are they not firing me? Why are they not letting me go? This is silly. I'm not doing much. I didn't feel useful, but a lot of it is because I had spent all those years optimizing myself out of the job to begin with. I absolutely had engineered the work and templatized everything to be easier for me to do. A complete OI, template OI of like narrow the thing down to the least amount of energy needed to make something look beautiful, in my case. And that's where I just had nothing to do. So the driver, though, when I think about it, like before OPS, before I had thought about social types, anything like that, I had said, well, okay, I guess the motivator is in fact money. I wasn't making a lot. I definitely deserve the next raise, etc. Like, I need to elevate myself. I definitely don't have a lot of drive in terms of like getting ahead or anything like that. So that part was extremely clear. But really, I just dragged out like the fact that I had nothing to do and I could no longer specialize. And that was finally what pushed me. Like, I could no longer do that thing that I so badly wanted to continue doing. And I wasn't permitted anymore. There was none of it left. So that was an interesting case of like, reflecting on that. But in general, even through that job and the current job, like, I don't think about when's my next raise, how can I get ahead, what can I do to prove to someone, do something. If anything, I'm trying to constantly prove to myself that I can keep going with this one, lane that I'm in again. And every time somebody tries to test me for other lanes in my company, I'm usually like, but that's not my job. So if you want to get this done, you'll have to find someone else to do it. Like, I know that it is wise often to show initiative or whatever, like, here, look, I can do this too. And I might do it to appease someone in again, single activated and masculine TE at the top. I'll be like, all right, fine, here, look, I can, but look, it didn't turn out great because I don't know this thing very well, so can I not do that anymore? It's been like that as well for me. in some cases. Yeah, and so I have to remind myself about things like raises, like, oh, okay, it's been a year, let's check in. And I dread that call. I absolutely don't want to do it. But seeing my husband be a little better about that makes me reminds me that it's just, I can't keep going forever unacknowledged. And it's not like, your coworkers or boss are going to be like, hey, you want to talk about your raise? You gotta stand up for yourself. So with deeming responsibility, I don't seek other roles in the office. I don't seek other roles, in the home in some ways. Like, I find, and because my husband and I are both threes, safe to say, like, if there is ever a dispute about something that neither of us feel responsible for, we would rather outsource it, right? So you have like cleaning, certain parts of cleaning, bickering about cleaning. Let's just hire someone to do it. And that's one way that when you have to specialize in the home, you start to outsource certain things to others, or see how you can both avoid doing it, to both avoid, conflict around the thing. So, we do have someone who helps us clean the house occasionally. I mean, I think we didn't introduce this idea before we had kids. Now it's like really draining on us. Before it was like, all right, we can get by and figure out schedules to do that. Now it's like, no, I refuse. We don't, clearly we're not aligned on some things. So let's just get this delegated out elsewhere. But this is also true of my life at home with my parents. I'm not fully into Enneagram, but I did get officially typed as a 6-wing-7, so this also aligns with that I am very much like family aligned, parents aligned, need to ask permission from my parents. It also is quite eye-opening. I believe both my parents are 2s, so they've been taking care of me my whole life. And tending to me in a very responsibility sort of way, in which, and of course, with my deeming responsibility, I just ate it up. I took it in. I was like, of course you are helping me. Of course I'll take your help. I'm not going to be doing that. I never wanted any, let's just say if my parents were not 2s, I would struggle quite a bit more. It was just like the perfect fit of a family situation, right? Where there's the caretaker and the receiver of that care, which is me. And so I don't think I struggled outside of the home to feel responsible. I just don't love that term responsibility, maybe. Jack of all trades sounded quite good from Habib's version of the terms. It's not like I was not responsible. It's just that I did not step outside of that sphere, or in life very often, also being OI, etc. So I didn't feel like I needed to push in any way. Like, life is comfortable. Like, everything panned out the way I wanted it to go. Just following the motions. And so that's where it got really interesting to put it all together. It just drove home my even more introverted vibe for being an EJ. So that's going to be interesting now that I'm a parent, being a parent who is missing responsibility, and trying to observe how that plays out in my daughter and what type of person she is, Like, arguably, the fact that we are both deeming responsibility would push her to teach responsibility. But, it's interesting to ask how much of it is, in fact, within you from the beginning and how much is influenced because perhaps my parents handheld me too closely with all of their overwhelming responsibility for me. Just, driving me to classes, helping me with any area that I can. And I do feel as an adult, I can come to them with any questions and really do have like a very healthy relationship with them. And this also plays out, like, frankly, when my husband and I will come over with our daughter to my parents' house, and we just sit on the couch and sit on our phones while my parents are running around after our daughter, her grandparents. Just like, I don't even flinch. I don't even feel like I need to help her with anything in the kitchen or no. I'm sitting down. Do I feel guilty? Do I notice it? Yes, even pre-social types, I noticed this. Do I do anything about it? Absolutely not. Maybe if we have a large family gathering and we're prepping food in the kitchen and, laying out the dishes and all of this stuff, place setting, like, I will help, of course. But somehow it's not like a driver at all to be in there to do the help. Despite being a blaster, like, it has nothing to do with that. It's just like, here's my lane. I'm, in this case, the parent, and let me do that. Let me rest now. So it's been a trip, but also nothing unexpected came of this necessarily. It just really doubled down on, like, introverted EJ energy, EJ, IJ, IP energy. Like, I'm all of them except the EP. Certain parts of it. The one thing I didn't identify with in Shang's video is, like, this sense of, like, all right, I have a hard stop. I'm going home. I want my vacation. Like, I don't come in on the weekends, etc., etc. Like, I don't know that, and I heard a lot of criticism about this in the community too, like, well, wait, if you're specialized, then you'll do anything it takes, if it's still in your lane. And so I identify with that. Like, as I said, I'm evenings and weekends, if I get a chance to be by myself, I'm usually working. But it's usually, like, at my own pace. If somebody told me, come in on the weekend to finish this thing, I would not be in a rush to finish this thing. I'm fortunate that there's not a lot of times in my work where I am under a deadline with, full pressure that I get my work done. And that's exactly where I want to be, We're just trucking along doing the work, and there's a lot of it, and it's enjoyable, and I'm co-working and getting feedback and doing all these great TE things with that content, with that design, but, like, not under pressure. I don't think that would be hard on me. That would involve responsibility, right? And, like, yeah, we don't really do holidays. In fact, it's really hard for my husband and I to like, remember that we should take vacations despite the fact that we technically can, especially with a kid. Like, no offense, but I don't want a vacation with our kid. Or rather, I should say, it's not a vacation. It's not the kind of relaxing vacation. It's just that you're in another city with your kid. And so it's actually much more draining than the work week where she's not with us and I'm allowed to recharge. So lots of different ways to process that. And yeah, I think that's all I got for now. Hope that was useful, interesting to hear. Thanks for watching.